Women in Technology and Women in Entrepreneurship, which is a partnership between the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute and the Women Lead program. So as you know, the Entrepreneurship Innovation Institute has a university-wide mandate. So we have students that come from all backgrounds because entrepreneurship knows no boundaries. And the Women Lead program is an award-winning women leading program that equips students to have not just to make wonderful entries into careers, but also to have a trajectory that will lead them to positions of leadership where they can shape the future in which we live. So it is again my pleasure to welcome Alaina. Alaina is, let me tell you a little bit about Alaina before we jump into our conversation. She is the CEO and co-founder of Women Who Code. And under her leadership, the organization has grown to serve over 290 members, 290,000 members in 134 countries. Yes, you heard this right. So it is a pleasure to have her here. Alaina is an accomplished tech speaker. She has appeared in multiple publications. She has spoken around the world. But one of the reasons why Alaina is so near and dear to our hearts is because she's a Panther. So she is a graduate of Georgia State University. So Alaina holds a master's in organizational management and an MBA. And to her long list of accomplishment, we can add the fact that she's an angel investor. She's a venture partner at Valor Ventures. So another way to say that she leads in multiple ways. And she also serves on the board of the Atlanta Family Meal. And of course, as I said, she's a Panther. And so please join me in making it a really, really warm welcome to Alaina Percival, who is also, and it's our privilege, the entrepreneur in residence and the faculty member who leads the Women Lead in Tech section of the Women Lead program. So welcome, Alaina.
Thank you.
And
thank you so much.
And because we don't have enough time for me to do full justice to your very lengthy list of accomplishments, I thought that instead I could ask you to share with us your story. What led you to this position of leadership, but maybe starting back from maybe a turning point, maybe at your college career or maybe even before then?
Yeah. First, thank you to everyone for taking some time during our lunch today to be part of this conversation. It's a place to connect and reflect and get to think about different career paths, and hopefully some of my story will inspire some of you. So I am an Atlanta native, and I went to Georgia State for undergrad, which meant I had the opportunity to receive the Hope Scholarship. And that was something that was a huge opportunity for me. So since I had decided to live at home, and I had the Hope Scholarship, I had my mom, who she was a single mother, a school teacher. She had helped to save some money for college. And so she said, okay, what I want you to do with this is to study abroad. And so that idea of having a global focus started very early for me around my college years. And I graduated from Georgia State University, and I wanted to study, or I wanted to move abroad, and I wanted to learn a foreign language fluently. And so even though I had studied both French and Spanish while at Georgia State, I decided to go for a scholarship, congressional scholarship that would take me to Germany and help me teach that language and get a job there. So I applied for this program and ended up having a year-long scholarship to be in Germany. So I learned German, and I ended up at the end of that program getting a job at Puma, which was just a shoe company that I really admired. But what I faced when I got a job there was that they couldn't hire me as an American unless they could say why I was a better fit than anyone in the EU. So like my English language wasn't going to do the trick. And so I was able to get an internship with them. And after I had that internship, that gave me the insider knowledge to be able to move forward in my career there. And so I took the first job that was available to me. And it was a role that wasn't really in my space of interest. It was in the retail division and it was in the real estate. So I was helping us find our stores all over the world. The interesting thing about that is my direct boss was the most senior woman in the company at the time. So I had a role model. I also had the opportunity to, in some small ways, work directly with the CEO, work directly with the CFO, because I was dealing with important 10-year-long contracts, global contracts. And these were big, important decisions that the company was making. So I had this junior role. But again, this wasn't really a space that interested me. And I was interested in product management and marketing and other areas. So I would walk over to different teams at the end of the day and say, hey, what are you working on? Is there anything I can do to help you? And what it resulted in is pretty quickly getting an opportunity to move into a project management role in managing and overseeing our niche products. And so that was something that really excited me. And what I found in that role is I needed, as a project manager, deliverables from, our head of interactive. So that would probably be called a software development team these days. I had things that I needed from store operations. I had things that I needed from product management. And all of these people that I needed things from are very senior to me. And so I couldn't say, I need this and I need this now. I had to learn how to manage up, which is a very important skill. I encourage all of you to actually think about that as you're building your careers, that working with your peers, managing down is important, but managing up is also important. And, I didn't always get it right. It was a learning experience for me. But what I've really taken forward is Women Who Code is a volunteer-led organization. And just like working with people 2, 3, 4 levels senior to you, I can't tell volunteers, you have to do this and you have to do this now. You have to get them to understand, to value the project, to believe in what you're doing, and to bring that forward because it's also something that they want to do and they believe in. So I got to a point where I said, I want to go back to school. And Georgia State had this amazing program in collaboration with the Sorbonne and the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro called Global Partners MBA. And so I said, hey, this isn't really a full commitment to moving back to the United States. I can just step a toe in it, go back to my hometown, go back to my alma mater, and get my MBA. And so I again kept this global focus in my career, and did my master's and MBA in with a focus on brand management, on commercial diplomacy. At the end of that, it was 2008. So I don't know if any of you remember what was happening in 2008, but the market was crashing. I actually graduated undergrad in 2002, which is also not a great time to be graduating. So I often joke, if I go back for my PhD, the market is just going to collapse. But I was able to get a job at a small women's performance footwear company coming out of my MBA. And what I was brought in there to do was launch the first women's specific volleyball and women's specific basketball shoe. So immediately I was at this tiny company, and Nike and Mizuno were our competitors. So I really had to think like a startup. I had to think outside of the box. I had to transform my skills to meet what the market was and what it was like being in a tiny company, going up against giants. And so that was a really exciting learning opportunity that I think helped to prepare me for my transition into the tech industry, which is what I did next. I had the opportunity to move to the Bay Area, and I thought, hey, San Francisco is a place in the world that I wanted to move to if I ever got the opportunity to do so. And so I did. And I struggled. I got there and people didn't care that I'd come from Puma. People said, you're not from Google, you're not from Facebook, you're not from Microsoft. What are you doing here? And so I started learning how to code. I started shifting my skill set again, this kind of continuous learning mindset. And my goal wasn't to become a software engineer at that point, but to be able to transition my career to the tech industry. And I started building my network in the tech community, and kind of getting involved with Women Who Code in my nights and weekends. Finally, I ended up at a startup that was acquired. So I had my official tech credibility, and for the first time ever, competing offers coming out of that. And so I got to actually choose what was next, and I could continue on my kind of project management, product management path, or take a new route. So in my nights and weekends, I was doing Women Who Code, and I decided to take a role at one of the top executive recruiting firms and be their head of developer outreach. So it was kind of amplifying what I was doing with Women Who Code. And they were going to allow me to run the charitable arm, the charitable work that they were doing. So I could start weaving Women Who Code into what I was doing during the day. So what I saw there while I was spending time with vice presidents of engineering, CTOs, funded founders, fewer than 5% of them were women. These are the game-changing roles that, you are just one IPO from being a multimillionaire. And I said, how do we get more women in this pipeline? How do we get more women winning these roles? And I started paying attention to what I saw the people who were getting those roles were doing inside their career, outside of their career, the things that women were doing differently that I might be able to amplify as something that the industry needed to shift to be able to keep and help these talented women in it. For example, I was throwing an event. Remember, these are the VIPs. The event was costing the company at least $1,000 per person. And out of everyone that I invited, all of the women requested a +1. One or two of the men requested a +1. And it was a very expensive event. So we said no. None of the women came. And so what I really learned from that is when you're asking someone to be in an environment where you don't feel as though that you have an ally, or feel as though you're not going to be alone, that it's really important to make space if you want women to attend, to have that support there. And so that's just one example of the learnings. And then I came to a point at that company where, I was honestly had a horrible work-life balance because I was working on Women Who Code almost full-time and working at this company almost full-time. And I said to myself, Alaina, if you quit and decide to work on Women Who Code in 6 months, if it doesn't work out, you can find another job. And so I quit my job. That was almost 10 years ago now. And I am still at Women Who Code. I'm still in a place where I'm building my career. I'm innovating. I moved the headquarters of Women Who Code to Atlanta, back to Atlanta. We were based in San Francisco in 2018. Thank goodness I did it before the pandemic, so we have a little bit more space. And I'm just honored that this semester I've gotten to join the faculty at Women Lead and have the honor to meet just the incredible, brilliant, and high potential women who are part of the program.